Prime Members. It is time to make a start. We have attained quorum. Item 1, confirmation of the minutes of the 6th meeting held on November the 9th. We have not received any proposed amendments. Can I take the minutes as confirmed? Thank you. Matters arising. Meeting with the CS, there is nothing much in particular to bring members up to date on. On another note, the electronic system got into trouble at the meeting on November the 2nd, and after the House Committee on the 9th of November, some members expressed the views that the electronic display system doesn't reflect their intention in voting. Perhaps I defer to the SG. Thank you. Thanks very much, Chairman, for the opportunity to bring members up to date regarding the technical problems regarding the electronic system and the follow-up work. If members recall, on November the 2nd, at the House Committee meeting, the voting bell and also the microphones were suffering from technical problems. We conducted an investigation into the system, and we found that there was a hardware component that was in fact a router that were technically wrong, and we've already replaced the router, and we have a spare router put in place. If similar things were to happen again, we would be able to respond to the situation. So regarding the incident that occurred on November the 2nd, we have already taken remedial action. As regards what happened on November the 9th, two members said that the way they voted wasn't consistent with what was displayed on the system. We've conducted a number of tests, and we did not experience the same problems that were reported by members. However, we have already replaced the circuit board within the panel, behind the panel of the two respective members, and for safety's sake, we have already replaced the circuit boards for those two members. Now, in order to diagnose the system for problems, we have installed a new component that is a data recorder. The reason being that the display or the record system of the voting mechanism means that members' votes were recorded, but we don't have any record of the button being pressed. Now, if we have this data recorder, we would be able to make a comparison between the record archive with the button that was pressed by members, and that would enable us to ascertain what stage the problems occurred. Now, some members said that the button or the light should remain on after the button has been pressed. We have really considered this, and for this to be done, we will have to upgrade the hardware system in a big way. We will try to identify better ways to see whether we will be able to meet members' requests. Now, since the term has already started, if we were to carry out large-scale hardware upgrading, we should identify a suitable window of opportunity, and where possible, we would be only delighted to look into this possibility. Chairman, finally, the display system shows the way members voted. The members can keep an eye on the display system, even if the chairman has announced the votes. As long as the chairman hasn't quite announced the result of the decision, members still would have the opportunity to express their views regarding the display system. Thank you. Mr. Wong Kwa-heng. Chairman, through the chair, I'd like to put this to the Secretary General. With this modification, do you think that we should be able to cope with the sheer number of amendments, and we may need to cast our votes every 2 minutes? If everything grinds to a complete halt, what's going to happen? So, Mr. SG, do you think that the existing system would be able to cope with the frequent extended process of voting in the Finance Committee? SG, thanks very much, Mr. Wong, for the question. Each time prior to a meeting being held, our technicians will conduct a test to make sure that the system is operating like normal before the meetings. On the previous 2 occasions, we experienced these problems, and it's got nothing much to do with the frequency of the voting process. As to how members utilize the electronic display system and frequency and so on, it remains to be seen. But members can rest assured that our team of technicians will be on hand. If any technical problems occur, they will take swift action. Mr. Wong, if the system is down, do you have any backup measures? SG? Yes, Chairman, we do have the backup measure in the form of manual voting mechanism. Now, it would take a pretty long time for a show of hands to be done, but that remains the reserve mechanism. Right, there are 3 more members. Please make it brief. Ms. Emily Lau. Chairman, I'm grateful to the SG and the Secretariat for the efforts, and I hope that we can address all these problems confronting us. I hope that the voting light should remain on after the button has been pressed. I hope that this doesn't cost a lot of money, and in the foreseeable future, we should be able to get it done. Now, we were told that the computer would have the record. If the display shows the wrong vote, then you can go back to the computer record for verification. Now, I do hope that the Secretariat would post the voting results on the web for members and indeed members of the public to get access to regarding the results of the voting at council meeting or other meetings. We don't really want to have the printout because it would be a waste of paper, but then can this be posted on the web? SG? Right, thanks very much, Ms. Emily Lau. The suggestion was to upload the voting results on the web. This is being done for the council meetings, but at the Finance Committee and the House Committee, I don't think that it would be technically impossible to achieve. We will get on with this as soon as possible. Secretary? Indeed, Chairman, if I may, the voting results have been uploaded, the previous results. Where can we get access to? Well, you can go to log on to the House Committee page, right? It means that we can go to the Finance Committee page for the results and House Committee page for the House Committee voting results. Indeed. Mr. Ho? Chairman, members do have the obligation to ensure that they voted the way they intended and check their votes. But I hope that the chairman or whoever it is, prior to the results being announced, would give a little bit more time to members. Mr. Kenneth Chen raised his hand before the results were announced. Maybe it is not well lit here at this corner of the room, and the chairman didn't notice. Maybe the chairman of the Finance Committee thought that we were trying to argue over the agenda item, and we couldn't really go back on the voting results. Perhaps before the results are announced, I hope that the chairman would invite members to verify the votes. Now, we do have the display board. I normally look at that board. I'm wondering whether the display can be connected to the panel in front of us. Right, let me say a couple of things. We have conducted a review together with the Secretariat at the Council meeting, House Committee meetings, or the Finance Committee meetings. I would say the voting is now in progress. The voting bell will ring for such and such a time, and members will be invited to vote. And before I end the voting process, I would ask members to verify the votes. And that would be one opportunity. If there are no problems, our voting will end, and I'll invite the Secretary to display the results. And I would pause for members to verify their votes before I proceed to announce the results. Before the results are announced, members can raise their hands. If I didn't spot you, perhaps you might give me a shout. Now, we are concerned about the possibility of errors. There are at least two opportunities for members to verify their votes before the results are announced. We can make some changes, but once the results have been announced, that would be final. Last week, in fact, Mr. Kenneth Chen asked the chairman to record his votes, and they could be done. Now, that would not change the results of the voting process. Now, with regard to Mr. Lena Wong, it would be a little bit different. She could say that she voted the wrong way. You can say anything for the record. But the results cannot be changed. Chairman, the results will be displayed on the board, but I mean, there should be time given. There will be about 30 seconds. Mr. Ho. Chairman, can the display be shown on the desktop panel here? Yes, can this be shown on the panel, on members panel? SG. Yes, Chairman, thank you. This is also being considered in the modification exercise, but I'd like to point out that for safety's sake, as the term has already begun, we ought to be careful with any major overhaul. We would have to ascertain the cost and also the extent to which the modification has to be made. Now, we have an assistant SG who would like to supplement. Mr. Lau. Chairman, if I may add, Madam Lau asked the question about the voting results regarding the FC. Now, after a meeting, we will upload them as soon as possible. But as the meeting is in progress, it would be difficult for us to upload the results on the web instantaneously. But within the same day, we aim to get this uploaded.
Selina Wong. Thank you, Chairman, and I thank the Secretariat for checking the voting system and replace the circuit board behind the panel. This is unfortunate, but I don't want it to happen again on any member, or to any member. And we've also found some ways to improve the system, and I welcome the Secretariat follow the matter up. As for the time for checking, I hope that the Chairman would allow us a reasonable period of time to enable us to check the voting results. The voting system just displayed the position of the member. Is it possible to display the name of the member? You have to find your row, your seat. If it doesn't cost a lot of money, and if it is feasible, please consider displaying the member's name as well. Mr. Tommy Chang. Mr. Tommy Chang. Mr. Chairman, I have two things. First, concerning the FC, before I announce the results, I look at both sides of the chamber 2 times, and my neck is rather stiff, so I may be very slow in turning sideways for 2 times. And I can recall that when I was speaking, I looked around and I didn't see any hand until I announced the results, and then I saw the member's hand, and I thought that he was about to speak on another matter. I don't want to belabor the point, but I hope that members will familiarize themselves with where they are on the display, and then on the display plan, and then they shouldn't be too shy. They can just raise a cry if they found anything wrong. Concerning 37A, I don't know whether we have 37A amendments, and I don't know whether Ms. Lau is asking for all the voting results on the computer immediately. And I really wonder, will people still want to work for the FC anymore? They are already working till midnight. So are you going to scare away all our secretarial staffs and the secretarial staff members? And do you want to put all the motions of 37A on the web? Well, Mr. Chairman, I don't want any debate on 37A. Let us be accommodating and generous. I understand the problem if the motions and amendments keep coming in thousands. It will be not possible. But I hope that if it is not in such a situation, the results can be uploaded as soon as possible. Now, concerning the indicating light, it will not be keep on, but you still have it will not be kept on, but you still have the computer record. We really need to have a way to check. We need a live witness. Well, we are all alive. The SG. Now, concerning the data recording device, it's already there. So there is a backup of the voting result. We need a software in order to turn such data into usable information. And that takes about 2 weeks. The data are recorded, and we can retrieve the data. As for making a check immediately, I think the best way is to raise your hand and say that the voting display does not tally with your intention. But if you wait for the announcement of the chairman, then the record cannot be changed. I understand the point, but we cannot rule out the possibility that the result is announced and the member said that he or she didn't vote for or didn't vote against. The result is it doesn't tally. Well, we immediately record the data, but we need 2 weeks to have a software to achieve what you want, and that is to retrieve the data immediately. I hope that you give us a little bit of tolerance. Now we have the records, but they cannot be retrieved immediately. Now, after 2 weeks, when the software is available, then we don't know when. But there is data, or there are data. And you only get the data after 2 weeks? No, they need 2 weeks. 2 weeks, there will be immediate retrieving. How soon do we have to wait? How long do we have to wait? Okay, just a minute. Just a minute. We have to hand over the floor to the chamber to the FC at 3:30. If you keep talking, we'll have to come back after 5:30. We still have a lot of things to discuss. You will have to come back at 5:30. Let's be brief. Mr. Chen Hangpan. Well, just very brief concerning the reliability and security of the system. They are very important. I thank the Secretariat for working so hard within such a short period of time and have done so much. Personal judgment is very important. Whether you have taken any medicine or whether you have got a drink, so it depends on the member's physical condition as well. Our technicians are really professional. Well, it's very important whether you have got a drink or you have taken a medicine. Well, maybe you have to do a physical checkup. Huh? Well, maybe Secretariat can consider a monitoring system to avoid people who misread or who does not, who try to deny. We can have a surveying system. Don't blame everything on the system. Mr. KK Fong. Well, you haven't answered Ms. Emily Lau's question. Now, Ms. Emily Lau asked, how soon can we get the voting record? Well, we only had that record starting from today. Mr. Mock. I think the Secretariat has done what it can, and it's just like doing a checkup on your car. Your car has a problem, but you may not be able to trace how that happened. But I can promise to help with the software. But even if you have the log, it doesn't mean the log is accurate. The log can also be faulty. If you press a button here, and if you vote for, it becomes against. Then when it is recorded by the log, it is still wrong. So it can't prove anything. You have to check from the beginning to the end, and it takes time. We need your patience. And giving 30 seconds to allow members to check is the best way. As for other things, please be patient, and let us rebuild our trust to the system. Mr. Wong Yong-man. Now, concerning the Secretariat and the Secretary, we have been unfair to them. It is very common to press the wrong button. Mr. Ronnie Tong said, I pressed the wrong button. He was honest. So, now, I think if you press for and it becomes against, this is very rare. I don't know whether it's really the case. Please be careful. Don't waste our time. Ms. Albert Chen. Well, I have the same argument. It seems that it is a problem of the Secretariat and the technicians. That is unfair. I want to put on record that there is no evidence, no specific evidence that it is a technical or mechanical fault. Please don't jump to the conclusion so early, though we got used to jumping to the conclusion. I think this is really unfair to the Secretariat and the technicians. Ms. Chang. Ms. Chang Lai-wan. Members asked whether Mr. Kenneth Chen had taken medicine or had got a drink. Now, somebody passed by Mr. Kenneth Chen and smelled the odor of alcohol, and he had a red face. Probably he should admit that he was drunk and he pressed the wrong button, and that caused a confusion, and it caused a lot of trouble to the technicians. Mr. Wong Ting Kwong, I'm asking the same question. I heard some friends said that they smelled the odor of alcohol on Mr. Chen. Now we are discussing a technical issue. If you are satisfied with the work of the Secretariat, that's okay. You don't need to belabor the point. I see 3 more indications. Does it mean that we want to come back at 11? Chairman, I am really alarmed that it's purely a mechanical issue, and now it becomes being escalated to the behavior of a member. It is really a waste of time and waste of public resources, taxpayers' money. Are we going to have our meetings endlessly? I leave in protest. Mr. K.K. Kwok, I urge members to speak on the voting system. Mr. Hang Pan, Ms. Chang, Mr. Wong, have you taken any medicine? Have you got drunk? I think you are. No one has blamed the Secretariat. It's a machine, and it's failed, and that's it. And you shouldn't blame other members. I have not consumed any alcoholic beverage. I have not taken any medicine. Please return to the discussion and respect the convention of this meeting. Ms. Chang. Now, just now, Ms. Chang, she said she leave in protest, and everybody knows that at this time she has lessons. I heard that the 2 kind of people are not honest, and therefore they are not allowed to join in the lying competition. Ms. Chang, please do not speak on this. I'll draw a line there. The SG will follow the matter up. Next item, business arising from previous council meetings. Legal Service Division Report on Subsidiary legislation gazetted on the 9th of November and tabled in Council 14th November. Legal Advisor. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our paper is LS 91213. There are two pieces of subsidiary legislation. The first one is Jury Ordinance Allowances to Juror Amendment Order 2012. This is the daily allowance for the jurors. This item is related to the two government motions under item 5, and it is about the allowance for witness and expert witnesses and expert witnesses. At the AJLS panel on the 7th of November, members did not give any specific comments. The last adjustment was in 2009, and now it is being revised from $360 to $410 for ordinary witnesses, and for expert or professional witnesses, I mentioned that is from, in passing, $2,170 to about $2,170 to $1,355. The Chinese, we find the Chinese version in a certain respect not in in the right suitable rendition, and therefore we suggest some amendments. I have nothing more to report.
Do you see the need for a subcommittee to be formed? If not, just a reminder that the deadline for amendment is December the 12th. There is a second item, Public Health and Municipal Services Ordinance, Cemeteries Amendment of 5th Scheduled Order. This is to delete two places. One of them has been included erroneously. The other one is no longer used as a cemetery, and that is the New Kowloon Cemetery number 2, which is no longer used. The order has come into effect this month. Right, do you see the need for a subcommittee? If not, again, the deadline for amendment is December 12th. Further business for council meeting on November the 21st. Jimmy. Or rather, there are 7 items of subsidiary legislation, the period of amendment of which will expire on November the 21st, including the third technical memorandum for allocation of emission allowances in respect of specified licenses. The chairman of the subcommittee had indicated intention to speak on the TM, and as chairman of the House Committee, I will be moving a motion to take note of the report in relation to the TM. This is intended to let members have a chance to speak. All right, no question. Let's move on to the next item, business for the council meeting on November the 28th. There will be 20 questions, 6 oral and 14 written. No bills for first and second reading. There are 2 government motions. The first one is proposed resolution to be made by the CS under Section 9B of the Criminal Procedure Ordinance, and also proposed a resolution to be moved by the CS under Section 54 of the Coroner's Ordinance. Jimmy, anything to add? No, Chairman. Any questions? Do you see the need for a subcommittee on the 2 resolutions? If not, the administration will proceed with that. There are two motions. The first one is by Mr. Chen Hakan, caring about the education, employment, and housing problems faced by young people. The second one by Ms. Claudia Mo, the local free-to-air TV licenses. For amendments, the deadline for notice is November the 21st. A list containing 3 items of subsidiary legislation, the period of amendment of which will expire on November the 28th, has been tabled. If members would like to speak, members should notify the Secretariat by 5 p.m. on Tuesday, November the 20th. Any question? No? All right, next, report of Bills Committee and Subcommittees. Report of the Subcommittee on Legal Aid Amendment Regulation 2012, Legal Aid Assessment of Resources and Contributions Amendment Regulation 2012, and Legal Aid Ordinance Resolution of Legislative Council Commencement Notice. Mr. Dennis Kwok.
He has completed his work, and the details of the deliberations and recommendations are set out in the report that has been placed before the members today. The subcommittee does not propose any amendment to the regulations and the commencement notice, and which will come into operation on the 30th of November 2012. But the committee does note that the final contribution rates for the existing and new types of professional negligence cases, as well as insurance, and for first-hand residential properties under the supplementary legal aid scheme, are too high, and that the subcommittee will refer the matter to the AJLS panel for follow-up. But other than that, we support the 2 regulations, Chairman, and here's the report.
Okay.
All right. There will not be any amendments to be moved. If members would like to move any amendments, the deadline to do so is November the 28th, and deadline for giving notice is November the 21st, on Wednesday. All right, next, position of Bills Committees and Subcommittees. The papers have been made available to members. There are 7 subcommittees under the House as at November the 15th. The next one is a proposal from Honourable Alan Leung for moving a motion for adjournment under Rule 16(4) of the Rules of Procedure at the Council meeting at November 28th. Mr. Leung, 5 minutes, please. Well, I won't take that long, Chairman. Thank you very much for bringing the matter up again after 1 week. On Friday, last Friday, in fact, I've listened to all the members who spoke, and the leave of absence by Mr. Franklin Lam is a matter of concern and is worth discussion. But because of the voting process, some members suggested that the notification period wasn't long enough. Now, with a longer period of notification, I would urge members for their support. Any comments? If not, shall we put it to the vote? Do we need a division? No? All right, those in favor, please raise their hands.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Those against, please raise their hands.
請大家。
Abstentions?
棄權。OK， 唔該晒。
Okay, thank you very much. And nobody claimed a division. Mr. Leung Kwok-hong claims a division. The bell will go for 5 minutes.
現在表決嘅議題。
Now the issue is Mr. Alan Leung's motion that the council will have a motion and adjournment debate on the 8th in relation in respect of Mr. Franklin Lam's leave arrangement. Now, before I declare the end of voting, please check your vote. Voting is now closed if there is no query. Would the Secretary display the results? The result is 63 present, 32 voted for, 26 voted against, 4 abstentions. I declare the motion passed. Any other business? Nothing. Meeting adjourned.